Persona 5 Strikers, the review. Let's break it down. Persona 5 Strikers, a love child between P Studio, Omega Force and Atlus, an action RPG which is a canonical sequel to Persona 5, placing our heroes once again in our hearts. Persona is a long-running series. Persona 5 Strikers was actually released under the name Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers, back in February 2020. It was received very well, mostly achieving results above 90 in review scores, which is no surprise considering the Persona 5 series is one of the most beloved series in Japan, and the quality is almost always assured. Now, without further ado, here is the Persona 5 Strikers review. Enjoy. Strikers is a return to the classic Persona art style. As a fan of comics and manga, I love the art style actually, especially the Persona 5 series. It's known for its vibrant colors to a squeaky clean presentation which often blows me away. The level of quality is tremendous. I will talk about the audio later, but the art and assets in the game makes me giddy every time I see it, especially on the high octane super moves. Unlike some other games where I skip repeated moves after the first dozen times, I will watch any Persona animation. It would be injustice to not watch such silky smooth animation. It's eye candy, literally free eye candy. The Persona series is a labor of love and you can see in every detail from the character models to the attack animations. I actually struggle to think of games that are as stylish as the Persona series. Seriously, I know that I'm gushing on about the series, but that's just what the series does. Once you're hooked for life. Let's consider this. The menu, for instance. Almost every menu and sub-menu has a different theme and animation, and at 60 frames a second, it's so smooth it makes me want to take my clothes off. I've played every Persona series from start to present day, and I have no idea how they do it, but every single iteration is basically a masterpiece in visual prowess and slick presentation. I feel very lucky to be in this generation and have the opportunity to enjoy such visual chocolate. With this new iteration to the series, the gameplay is slightly different from the mainline games. This game is an action RPG, which kind of uses a Dynasty Warrior style combat instead of a traditional JRPG turn-based combat. But this is so much more than a Dynasty Warrior style game, and no offense, I love those games, but this is actually like P Studio and Omega Force has conceived a child of almost utter perfection, fusing both genres into this amalgamation of absolute awesomeness, dripping with style on every facet. There is so much to unpack here. First of all, for those of you who have played the Persona series, you'll instantly recognize the element and weakness system. And for those of you who are new or who are unfamiliar, you essentially control a higher power called a persona. These personas have their own elemental and type advantages, which you then use to exploit enemy vulnerabilities, opening them up for combos, team follow-up attacks, and more. I could have included this next part in graphics, but I decided to include it in gameplay. Each persona is handcrafted with its own unique theme, moves, and in this particular game, each one has its own animations. And these animations are specifically designed for it, and anyone who has played Persona before knows that there are tons of personas. Not only that, our protagonist Joker calls them out individually by name whenever he uses them. Yes, I should probably mention that unlike other party members who can only use one persona, our hero can actually use all of them, not including the party ones. Now you might be asking, how does this fit into a Dynasty Warriors style gameplay? Let me explain. So you have your standard combos, your normal attacks, your special attacks, sometimes known as heavy attacks, a ranged button and an ultimate button. However, this is just a simplistic explanation. In reality, you'll be comboing moves, exploiting weaknesses and using your persona and your party members to absolutely whoop the opposition. Once the enemies are vulnerable, you'll pull off these massive grandiose attacks in the form of showtime attacks and all-out attacks. These are essentially cutscenes of badassery, each member having their own version based on their persona with their own visual theme playing out throughout the attack. I absolutely love these animations. Actually, I think they should hold open classes for other studios so they can all have these silky, smooth animations all across the gaming industry. Let's talk about the cast of characters, in particular party members. So the way it works is they actually make the Persona games what they are. There's a vibrant cast ranging multiple types of personalities. In previous games, there's a big emphasis on building relationships with these lifetime friends. In doing so, your character gains power and forges even deeper bonds, usually by interacting with these characters in social events. Sometimes these social events will lead to personal affairs, and you can also have the opportunity to forge romantic relationships. The social process has been streamlined in this game, but the interactions happen across the story, so you'll actually get to see these connections being strengthened over the course of the game, and providing tangible benefits in doing so. The characters really lend themselves well to the style of the game. Each of them have their own mechanic which you can master, and my personal favourites are Yusuke and the new character Sophia, who are both skill based and require unique timing to maximise their toolset. Once all is said and done, once you find your rhythm and favourite characters, you'll quickly develop a preference in playstyle, which is something I absolutely love in the series, and it really provides a unique spin on the combat. The performance of this game was actually really good. On PC you have the option of running 30 or 60 frames per second and your usual graphic settings. For most of the game I managed to maintain 60 frames a second at 4K, 2K and 1080p with only slight frame drops, even in the most hefty of scenes. Now these frame drops may be because I run my game for multiple hours at a time, and whenever I started to notice the FPS slipping, which was very rare, I just restart my game and the issue will be fixed. I did have multiple crashes during loading screens, and I was unable to replicate the issue consistently. I do believe it has something to do with the recording software. I did get a little annoyed, but I quickly adapted by making sure I always saved at every opportunity. Otherwise, the performance was stellar and stable. It's a great port, which isn't always the case for ports, and I'm happy to recommend it. Writing and story. 2 words. Top notch. When I think of the Persona series, I think of a series that highlights issues within society, challenging them in their own unique way, whether it be mental health, societal pressure, or prejudice. As I sit here recording this, I know we've all been affected by these things one way or another. Persona invokes these feelings in a carefully woven storyline and tremendous voice acting. There are many times in the Persona series where a combination of art, story, and voice have struck a chord in me. Hearing an actor's voice purposely tremble as they cry out in rage and sadness only goes to reinforce the fact that this series is almost second to none when it comes to storytelling. I always manage to put myself in those characters' shoes and feel what they feel due to this. As for the writing and the story, although it's streamlined, it still hits those tones perfectly. There were multiple times when I had to stop, think, and feel and understand what happened. I felt their struggle and it reached out to me. And there was even one scene in the game where my eyes actually began to water. With most games, we have good guys and we have bad guys, but it really is the writing of the series which makes this premise so much better. There is an emotional weight to the story as the gang broadens its horizons and learning more about the world and adult life. Often seeing the bitter notes of what it's like to be an adult really lands home in the latter half of the game, where the life we so desperately strive to achieve as an adult can sometimes have consequences on those we love. I truly enjoyed the Persona 5 Strikers story. It's been crafted with a precision that serves as an emotional javelin into the hearts of its viewers. I know I haven't gone too much into detail about the story itself, but that's because I don't want to spoil too much, as there are many twists and turns which I'm sure most of you will enjoy. The game itself varies in length, as it really depends on how you play. My personal playthrough was about 50 hours, but I'm sure there are people who could squeeze more out of that.
Sophie, blend in so much, we might lose you.
As a friend of mine says, it's audio chocolate. This is the case when it comes to Persona games. Some YouTubers have made really great videos on Persona soundtracks, breaking them down with laser precision. Persona has everything from jazzy funky songs to more somber orchestral music. There really is something for everyone. I absolutely love the Persona music. I have all the soundtracks purchased and I listen to them basically daily. So I'm going to try to remain as impartial as possible. It's going to be difficult, but truly, like I said previously, there is something for everyone. And fans of River in the Desert are in for a huge treat. The Persona soundtrack really lends itself well to this style of game. There's so much attention to detail, and you can really see this in Strikers. I'd actually recommend buying the background music pack from the Steam store, setting the battle music to random, and then you can even remove the tracks that you're not fond of. I had such a blast playing regular battles with the Persona 4 music playing. And don't worry, major set pieces will also have the Persona 5 Strikers music playing in them, so you don't have to worry about missing those godly beats. I really like the fact that they took the time to adapt some older songs. They put them in the game and my face was gleaming with joy after seeing the background music pack. For me, buying a deluxe edition was a no-brainer. The production is almost flawless, with the exception of some voice lines which can sound different due to the actors having to record from home, and no doubt the acoustics would have been different. The voice acting really adds to the quality of the game, and there's a noticeable growth in the character development which is often shown through the voice acting. A perfect example of the voice acting would be Haru and Futaba, actually some of my favourite characters. These characters who joined pretty late in the Persona 5 story, you can actually see their growth in Persona 5 Strikers. It's almost entirely due to the voice acting. It adds a believable weight to the character and the story, which only goes to make me fall in love with the game even more. Truly audible chocolate. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in once again. I hope you enjoyed the review. As always, I enjoyed making it. Persona 5 Strikers was an amazing game, and it's no surprise, to be honest. The Persona series has such a high caliber when it comes to these things. Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royale are some of my favorite games. Now, this game itself comes out on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Microsoft Windows, so you can go and find it. I bought it on Steam, and I bought the deluxe edition. I think it's a really good purchase. So I'm gonna score this a green. And if you don't know what that means, I'm scoring it a green light, and I'm going to show it on the next slide with a description. So if you tune in for the future, you know exactly how the rating system works. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all your time. I'll see you on the next breakdown. See ya.